The house had no mirrors, not one. Every room was stripped clean, even the bathroom. Ran my hand over the wall where a mirror once hung. The surface was icy, almost damp, like something breathed behind it. The air stank faintly of copper and old decay. At night, I'd hear faint whispers behind the drywall. Not words, okay, but breathing, uneven, wet. Then, under a floorboard in the bedroom, I found a cracked mirror shard wrapped in linen, scrawled on the cloth in a language I didn't know were. Symbols, protective sigils, maybe, or warnings. That night, I dreamed of villagers burning mirrors in a forest clearing, chanting in panic as black smoke rose. But it wasn't the mirrors they feared. It was what came out of them. I woke choking on the taste of bile. For one blissful second, the house was silent. Then the walls groaned, and the mirror shard began to hum. Was something coming through? Asterisk, the house sat at the edge of a dying forest, the kind locals whispered about, but never entered after sunset. They called it Gribaja, the house without purpose. Vines strangled the porch. The floorboards wheezed with every step, like lungs taking shallow, labored breaths. The air reeked of damp rot and something sharper, like rusted iron and moldy earth. At first, I dismissed it. An old home creaks, right? But the noises had rhythm, a pattern, something trying to speak. My reflection never appeared in windows, only static blackness. I thought I saw myself once, briefly, in the microwave door, but my reflection smiled. I hadn't. I burned sage, like the old woman in town had advised. But it only made the stench worse, like I disturbed something sleeping. One night, the walls wept, a black, tar-like ooze that pulsed. I touched it, as cold as ice. Then, it moved. Was the house alive? Asterisk. It started with whispers, faint, broken murmurs that echoed between the walls at exactly 3:17 a.m. every night. They didn't make sense at first, just fragmented words. Then came the smell, thick and metallic, like copper and something rotting deep in the floorboards. I convinced myself it was plumbing, old pipes, maybe mold, but every time I touched the walls, they were ice cold and slightly damp, like touching the inside of a corpse. One morning, I found a child's drawing beneath a loose tile in the kitchen. A stick figure with hollow eyes, standing behind a girl brushing her hair. The caption, written in shaky Urdu, read, Main Kabi Akila Nahi Hota. I am never alone. That day, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I felt relief. Then that night, I saw movement in the corner of the ceiling, like something crawling inside the plaster, watching. But was it inside the walls or inside me? Asterisk, I couldn't sleep. Every creak became a voice. Every shadow looked like it had bones. So I started digging, literally. I pulled floorboards from the attic, ripped open the closet wall, and found an old, dust-covered chest hidden behind crumbling bricks. Inside were yellowed newspaper clippings from 1949. A headline screamed, Family found dead, mirrors shattered, one body missing. Beneath the papers was a brittle leather journal, its pages warped and stained, reeking of bile and dried blood. The entries were frantic, erratic. She lives in the reflection. Only. Glass reveals her. My hands trembled as I read. I could taste iron on my tongue, like something old and wrong rising up in my throat. I thought maybe I was imagining things, but maybe I was losing it. Then the wallpaper began peeling on its own, revealing symbols carved into the wood behind it. Symbols that looked freshly cut, and they were still bleeding. Asterisk, it started with whispers, not loud, just enough to brush against my eardrum like breath on skin. I turned, expecting silence, but the room only offered the scent of something metallic, copper, and decay. That night, I lit a candle out of fear, and its flame flickered, violently, even with no wind. Then, the voice came, a girl's voice, soft and broken. Why won't you look at me? My mouth filled with the bitter taste of bile. I screamed, but it echoed back, sounding like someone else. I found a cracked photo hidden behind the basement furnace. A young woman staring at a mirror that reflected nothing. Her name was unnamed. Her name was unwritten on the back. Azia, a local girl believed to have vanished during a forbidden mirror ritual. I prayed. I begged. For 2 days, nothing happened. I thought it was over, till I found the candle still burning, but upside down. Asterisk. The house groaned that night, not from the wind, but from within. I followed the sound, barefoot, down the freezing hallway. The floorboards were slick. When I looked down, my foot was smeared with something dark and sticky. Blood. A faint copper scent filled my nose as I pushed open the attic door. Inside, dust hung thick like smoke, and the air tasted old, almost burnt. In the far corner, I found it a heavy, splintered trunk, sealed with rusted chains. With trembling hands, I opened it. Inside lay a tattered dress, bones wrapped in lace, and a mirror broken, but glowing faintly from within. As I touched the frame, a vision flashed. Asia screaming, clawing at her own reflection, as elders chanted and the mirror cracked. A failed banishment. The village had tried and failed. Heart racing. But behind me, the attic door slowly closed, and locked. Asterisk. The air grew heavy, suffocating as the attic darkened. The only light now coming from the fractured mirror. I stared into it, and it stared back, but not with my face. The reflection blinked out of sync, smiled when I didn't, and its mouth moved soundlessly until I finally heard it, a whisper, low and guttural. You opened it. Suddenly, the temperature plummeted. Frost crept up the walls, then turned, liquid, bleeding like veins. I stumbled back, but the floor felt like it pulsed, like the house itself was alive. Asia's face, burned, hollow-eyed, emerged from the mirror. My mind snapped for a second. I screamed, but only bile came up. 100 whispers filled my ears, rituals forgotten, names cursed, mirrors buried to trap her. She was never meant to be freed. The mirror wasn't cursed. It was a prison. Now, I was her replacement. Asterisk. The mirror shattered with a deafening crack, but not into pieces. No, it bent outward, like glass turning to flesh, forming a gaping portal, oozing thick black tar. The air reeked of rot and copper, the stench so strong I gagged, tasting something metallic and sour, like old blood mixed with bile. The walls around me began to scream, not metaphorically. They screamed with human voices, as if the house remembered every soul it had swallowed. Its floorboards writhed under my feet like worms, cold and slick. Sia's figure rose from the tar, no longer human. Her eyes were hollow voids, her arms too long, her mouth stretching unnaturally wide. I turned to run. For a moment, the lights flickered back on. Silence. Hope. Then the ceiling caved in with a screech, and hands, not hers, burst from the walls, pulling me back. And her voice whispered again, "You're mine now, okay?" Asterisk. I awoke in the basement, or what looked like one. Damp stone walls dripped black liquid, and the air was thick with the stench of decay and burned hair. My wrists were raw from trying to pull free of slimy, pulsating roots that wrapped around me like veins. Every breath tasted of mold and rust, and my skin burned where the darkness touched it. I screamed, but my voice echoed back. In someone else's tone, my own voice was no longer mine. I clawed my way toward a faint blue glow. A sigil burned into the stone. Maybe a ritual mark, a failed one. I touched it, and for a heartbeat, everything stopped. Light, silence, hope. Then the sigil faded, and the voice came again, deeper now, layered with centuries of pain. You broke the seal. You set me free. I was never meant to survive, but I was always meant to stay. Asterisk, they say. The house is abandoned now, boarded up, sealed tight, forgotten by most. But sometimes, when the fog rolls in thick and low across the street, neighbors swear they see a figure at the attic window, not moving, it's watching, waiting. Police reports say no one lives there, but the whispers return every full moon, soft and pleading, calling to strangers passing by. A new family moved in last week, unaware that the mirrors they hang will never reflect them, that the shadows will fall wrong, that a voice, my voice, will guide them deeper, just like it once lured me. The house doesn't let go, not really. It reshapes you, rewrites you. I don't know how long I've been part of it now, days, years, but I can feel someone walking through the front door again. And I'm smiling because the house is hungry.